What you've built here, a vibrant culture, a thriving neighborhood, the spirit of adventure, is a testament to what a free Cuba could be. And with God's help, a free Cuba is what we will soon achieve.
And today, President Trump visiting Little Havana as he announces new changes to the U.S. policy towards Cuba.
With a look at the exact details of what the president said and did during his speech, let's get right to our senior political reporter, Michael Putney, who was right there for it all. Michael.
Lori, President Trump came to this community center in Little Havana today to make good on a key campaign promise he made in Miami last fall. That is to crack down on the Castro government and help the Cuban people.
Thank you, President Trump, for keeping your commitments. You have not betrayed us.
Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart got the pro-Trump, anti-Castro crowd fired up. The president turned the heat up even higher.
I am canceling the last administration's completely one-sided deal with Cuba.
Trump says he's ready to negotiate a better deal with Havana, but only if the Castro government makes some concessions.
To the Cuban government, I say, put an end to the abuse of dissidents. Release the political prisoners. Stop jailing innocent people. Open yourselves to political and economic freedoms. Return the fugitives from American justice, including the return of the cop killer, Joanne Chesimard.
The president was vague on details, but his Cuba policy will make it much harder for Americans to travel individually to Cuba. They'll have to go in recognized groups. U.S. visitors can't stay at hotels owned by the Cuban military, and most are. U.S. airlines and cruise ships will be allowed to do business with the island. And the U.S. Embassy will remain open in Havana, as will Cuba's embassy in Washington. But as of today, relations between our two countries are much cooler. We're live in Little Havana. Michael Putney, Local 10 News.
Okay, Michael, thanks a lot.
The president was met with protests during his stop in Little Havana.
And let's continue now with our team coverage with Local 10's Glenna Milberg, who has that angle for us. Glenna.
Calvin, Lori, we've moved a little bit to this place where something called the Cuban Directorate held this press conference right after the speech. These are largely Cuban exiles who have been here a long time working for Cuba's freedom, and for them tonight is a huge celebration. But just a half a mile from here, really near the theater, it was a much more passionate display while the speech was going on. This was about Flagler and 9th Street, and there were two camps of people, very loud, one protesting and one supporting the president's speech and the president's policy moves. And I will tell you, we didn't meet very many people who actually knew the details of what the president was saying, but they did know very generally that he was closing up much of the openings that President Obama made about 2 years ago. And so you had a pro-Trump, very supportive crowd saying, let's see how this goes, let's squeeze the Cuban government, in their words. And then you had people afraid that the openings that have been made already will be closed up to the detriment not only of the Cuban people, but of American business as well.
So what we're saying we want to do with this policy announcement today is hurt the Cuban regime while helping the Cuban private sector. And in fact, in reality, it's doing the exact opposite. So now Americans are no longer going to be able to stay at Cuban private homes because they're going to be forced to go on big government-approved trips with groups of 40, no longer stay at the small business owners. This is really against the challenge of what we're hoping to see, and at the same time, it isn't impacting U.S. business.
So much remains to be seen about the practical effects of what is changing as of today. I will tell you, the American Civil Liberties Union did have monitors out to monitor whether free speech was happening, and it was a very peaceful protest on both sides. I'm Glenna Milberg, live in Little Havana tonight, Local 10 News.
All right, Glenna, thank you.
We're also getting reaction from inside Cuba about these policy changes.
Local 10's Hatzel Vela is the only South Florida reporter living and working in Havana. Hatzel, start us off with what Cubans are saying right now on the streets.
Well, Lori, if you walk around the streets of Havana, you get a lot of uncertainty. That's because a lot of Cubans who are just now venturing into the private sector are concerned that these policies will really have an effect on their pocket, meaning what will happen to those folks who own Airbnbs, who own rather bed and breakfasts, who own restaurants, who are just diving into the private sector. If you think about this, fewer folks from America coming here to Cuba, that means that there's going to be less money coming into the pockets of Cubans. The other obvious concern is for those Cubans who do work with the state sector, who work with these companies that are linked to the military. They're also concerned this is going to have a great effect. But some reaction, not only from folks on the streets, but also from the government. We did get a tweet from the ambassador of Cuba to the U.S., Jose Ramon Cabañas. Here it is on your screen, where he says, "Now it is official. These are the new enemies of U.S. foreign policy." And with the tweet, you see a picture of tourists, presumably American tourists. He goes on to say, watch out, kind of making fun in a way of the new Trump policy. Let's go to take you to a second piece of video. This is state-run television here in Cuba. You can see folks here on the island being told what was happening. This is just a brief mention during one of their newscasts here on the island. They were told of what was happening, what Trump was saying, but not really given details as to the specific of the new policy. Cubans did get to see what was going on in Miami step by step through a different TV outlet, which is Telesur, that Venezuelan-run television station out of Venezuela. They did broadcast the entire speech live. At this point, we're still trying to figure out, though, if they were told exactly what the president was saying or if they were just given some paraphrasing of what Mr. Trump was saying in Miami. But again, going back to the streets here in Havana, a lot of folks wondering what this means for them in the long term. We know that these are going to be taking effect in the next 30 to 90 days. And so folks here on the island will be carefully following every step.
Hansel, I want to ask you too a couple of questions. One is, was there a sense of optimism when President Obama was there about a year ago? Of course, when he came there in March, the first visit in 90 years by a U.S. president. But secondly, do you think there was a feeling that some Cubans there were hoping that there was some change to the wet foot, dry foot policy?
Oh, that is for sure. When you talk to a lot of Cubans, one of the things they'll ask you is about Trump and his policy towards immigration. And of course, when that conversation comes up, inevitably they're going to talk about wet foot, dry foot. They were hoping, at least some of the Cubans I've spoken to, that was going to return. But as we know, President Trump has been really tough on immigration, and we see now that that is likely not going to happen. Calvin.
And Hatzel, for those who were hoping that the embargo would be ended in the coming time, I mean, that is looking very far away now.
Yeah, that's right, Lori. I mean, when you talk about the economic interest of folks here on the island, this is what they're focusing on. They're focusing on how they can better their lives, because at the end of the day, the private sector here is what likely could be impacted by all of this.
Hansel Vela, the one and only reporter in Havana, Cuba. We'll talk with you more during the next 2 hours. Thanks a lot.